Hello and welcome back. Just to recap, we do have an S3 bucket set up, which here is called the Orion papers. Inside of that, we have an object called S3 sample file. We also have a sample folder created. We have also discussed S3 permissions and the various way we can set up access and user management for our S3 buckets. Now it's time to move into some more S3 features, specifically now talking about storage classes. So let's go ahead and click on that. So what is a storage class? Well, a storage class represents the classification assigned to each object in S3. Current storage class types include standard, reduced redundancy storage, also known as RRS, infrequent access, also known as S3-IA, and glacier. Each storage class has varying attributes that dictate things like storage cost, object availability, object durability, and frequency of access, meaning to the object. Before we move on and talk about the 4 different types of storage classes in depth, let's first get a good working understanding of what object availability and object durability mean, because these are going to be terms we're going to be using a lot throughout the remainder of this section and also throughout the course. So object durability refers to the percent that an object is going to be there, meaning that it has not been deleted or it has not been corrupted on the AWS servers. So obviously, the higher the durability of a file is, the better. Next has to do with object availability. So if the object is there, meaning it's durable, am I able to actually access it? Meaning, can I click on it and download it or do any sort of management with the particular object? So that has to do with availability. So you want both of these to be as high as possible because that gives you the best percentage chance that one, the file will not be deleted or will not be corrupt. And then when you actually want to access it, you can access it. So that's what object durability and object availability are. And those are different among the different storage classes. So let's first talk about standard, which you see here is the storage class for the sample file that I have uploaded. And standard storage is designed for general all-purpose storage. It is the default storage option of S3. It has what is called 11 nines durability, which is extremely high. And AWS accomplishes this through syncing objects that are in S3 across multiple data centers in various availability zones, all within a region. So when you upload an object to S3 in the standard storage class, there are going to be multiple copies of that object spread across many different availability zones. So if one availability zone were to go down, you could always access it in another availability zone. And AWS handles all of that management for you on its own back end. It also has 99.99% object availability. So again, a very high availability for if I want to go and access this file, it will be there for me 99.99% of the time for me to actually use and manage. It is, however, because of the highest amount of durability and availability, the most expensive storage class. Next is reduced redundancy storage, and this is designed for non-critical reproducible objects. So this only has a durability of 99.99% as opposed to the 11 nines durability of the standard storage option. It does, however, have the same amount of availability of 99.99%. Now, this is less expensive than standard storage class, but again, with that trade-off, you are giving up durability. So why would you use reduced redundancy storage over, say, something like standard storage? Well, let's say that you're hosting a web application where your customers store photos. As part of this web application, you take the main photos that are uploaded by the customers and you produce thumbnails for easier viewing when customers log into the web app. Well, you'd want to store the main files in S3 because you want those main files to have the best object durability and availability, but the thumbnails which your application generates can always be reproduced from the main photos. Well, you can store the thumbnails themselves in a much cheaper storage option, that being reduced redundancy, because if those happen to be lost due to a lower object durability, again, they can always just be reproduced from the main file sitting in the stronger standard storage class. So it's a way that if you have, again, non-critical reproducible objects, to be able to store them in a cheaper location than storing them in standard. Next, we have infrequent access, also known as S3IA, and these are designed for objects that you do not access frequently, but must be immediately available when accessed. So here you see it actually has the same 11 nines durability as standard, but it has less object availability. That means that there was a slightly increased chance that when you go to access a file in the infrequently accessed storage class, that it will not be available for you. So that is the trade-off with infrequent access storage class versus standard storage class. So you may also recognize a bit of a pattern here. Standard has the highest object durability and the highest object availability, and it is the most expensive. Then you have a storage class where you trade off durability for decreased in cost, and then you have a storage class where you sacrifice availability for decreased in cost. And what you generally want to use infrequent access for are types of files that maybe your company is only accessing a few times a week or a few times a month, but again, it must be available when you go to access it. Now, these all differ greatly from Glacier, and Glacier is designed for long-term archival storage and not to be used for backups, and that is because it may take several hours for objects stored in Glacier to be retrieved. Glacier does offer 11 nines durability, but again, there is no availability listed because it can take an extremely long time once you put in a request to actually retrieve those files out of S3 Glacier. It is, however, the cheapest storage class and it is extremely low per gigabyte of storage. But again, it's just for archival storage because it may take a long time to get files out of Glacier. Now let's look a little more in depth into Glacier. So I want to actually back out a couple of layers here. Back out to our main storage layer and click on Glacier here. So again, let's just repeat this because it's very, very important to understand the difference between Glacier and the other storage types. And that is Amazon Glacier is an archival storage type, and it is listed separately here in the AWS console. You have S3 and you have Glacier. So with Amazon Glacier being for archival storage, it is used for data that is not accessed frequently. And when we mean not accessed frequently, I don't mean like once every couple of weeks. I mean, maybe this is data you're accessing once every couple of years. Because the check out and check in jobs can take several hours, meaning how long it can take for the data to be changed and or retrieved. Now, it does integrate with Amazon S3 lifecycle policies for easy archiving. We'll be talking about that in a few lessons. It is an extremely inexpensive and cost-effective archival storage solution. And again, Glacier should not be used as a backup solution because if you have a system that goes down, it may take you several hours to retrieve the information, meaning that it would take you that long to then have your system back up. So it's not a good backup solution. However, it is important to note, and this is a very recent addition, Glacier now offers 3 levels of data retrieval, and the pricing varies between the 3. But there is now expedited retrieval where you can retrieve information in Glacier within 1 to 5 minutes. This is brand new. It always used to be that it took at least several hours to a day, but now we have expedited, which means you can retrieve within 1 to 5 minutes, standard within 3 to 5 hours, and then bulk within 5 to 12 hours. And there is pricing variance between all 3, obviously with the expedited being the most expensive. So now that we have a good understanding of what storage classes are, how do we set or change the storage class for a particular object? Well, we can do that in several different ways. One, you can do it during the upload of a particular object. So if I click on Upload, click on Add Files, I can select any file here. I'll select this file. Click Next, and then here, under step 3, we have an option to choose between standard infrequent access, and reduced redundancy. Now you may be saying to yourself, well, why isn't Glacier there? Well, I'll get to that in a second. But let me just cancel out of this for now. Once you also have a file uploaded, you can click on the file here, click on More, and then click on Change Storage Class to change to a different storage class. You can also select the file, go to Properties, click on Storage Class, and here change it to any one of the storage classes that you wish. I'll change this one to Standard Infrequent Access. I can click Save. Then we can go back to the overview of the bucket, and we see here now that the storage class has changed to Standard Infrequent Access. So it's really easy to change and manage the types of storage classes that your objects have. Now, the only way to actually move any object into Glacier is through lifecycle policies, which is why back on this previous diagram, we have S3 here and then lifecycle policies directing objects into Glacier. So it's very important to understand, and we're going to go into depth for lifecycle policies later on in this section. But for now, we will conclude this lesson. Thank you for watching. You may now move on.